That's the one chance you had in the game. That was a brutal loss. They're not competitive. That game last night was not competitive. And that's the biggest surprise to me is they look lifeless. And I talk about the puke bucket and how playoff baseball like kills me. There was no puke bucket last night. The game was over. Once it got to 4-0, it's like, well, this one's over. Now, they had opportunities to climb back in, but reality is this offense right now, outside of a couple innings in game 2, is lifeless. And this is the kind of series that you lose if you go down like this again tonight. This is the kind of series that guys lose jobs. Players get traded. Hitting coaches get fired. I'm not telling you that Kevin Long should get fired. I'm just saying that when you lose like this, changes are made. And they are one game away. Even if the offense shows back up tonight, I mean, it's still outside of a big offensive explosion, and then they show up again in game 5, and whatever. If it goes down like we've seen this series, people are losing their job. The buttons that Rob Thompson are pushing as manager, go back to 2008 and Charlie Manuel. It seemed like everything that he did worked. Does that mean that he's a great manager or that things just worked out? Topper in 2022, for a long stretch there, everything he was touching was turning to gold. And it didn't happen last year. And he changed some things this year. He decided, hey, I'm going to make moves. So yesterday he sat down Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott. And unfortunately, I think the replacement that he chose for Brandon Marsh was a poor one. Should have never put Austin Hayes in there. Weston Wilson, and I saw a lot of this before the game, and I agreed 100%. I was shocked he put Austin Hayes in there. Weston Wilson has a pulse. Hayes doesn't. But like for better or for worse, the manager's gonna get credit when they win or not get all that credit. The players will get the credit. And when they lose, everybody looks at the manager. And the moves that he's made, and I saw Rich Hoffman Jr. on our newsletter, and I thought it was great. He detailed everything, and you can get it by going to the site. It's PHLY Daily. We email it to you every morning. It's everything you need to know. And he did a deep dive on this one. He put 13 different moves that were made by Thompson. And everybody more or less. Everybody more or less. So the audio was out for the top of the show.
We're good now. Everything is cool.
Good to go.
Okay. No, a series of unfortunate events that continue to happen here.
Yeah, the technical.
But you're good.
The technical difficulties are for real here. And Tyler's been scrambling the last couple of days to get everything going on there. All right, what's up, everybody? This is Philly with John Marks on PHLY. Phillies lose and Philly with John Marks, as always, presented by the BetParks app. Get over to the BetParks app right now if you dare to bet the Phillies tonight. We'll talk about that coming up in a second.
Yeah, if you like losing money.
God, man, I mean, I'm surprised that the offense has looked as pathetic as it has. And really, last night's game was not a competitive game whatsoever. Not at all. Not at all. There was no puke bucket last night. Nothing like that. There was just this game's over. This game's over. When they didn't get it, when they didn't get anything out of getting the first two runners on, Bryce strikes out, Castellanos lines into a double play. It's like it's over. It's over. And it was over. And they got a couple runs late. I had already turned it off. It was still on the TV, but I was getting kids' teeth brushed and things like that. I was looking down to see if they could make a little bit of a comeback. But, where do you want to start? It's the offense. I was shocked when, and I'm as negative on Nola. People say I'm negative on Nola. I actually think that I've been dead on with Aaron Nola. But you blame him for last night. Sure, he could have pitched a 2-hit shutout and you score some late runs and you win. You can't rely on that. This is playoff baseball. He wasn't going to do that. Zach Wheeler pitching tonight on 3 days rest isn't giving you a complete game shutout. It's not going to happen. Stop looking for miracles. Ranger Suarez is your starter tonight. You need the offense to show up. His offense hasn't showed up. This is a high-priced offense. High-priced. Stars. Everybody's making freaking money on this team, and they're not hitting. So you want to blame Nola. You want to blame the bullpen. Blame the bullpen. That's fine. You want to blame Dombrowski. Go for it. Austin Hayes, to improve your team, has not worked out. It's blown up in his face. Topper, go for it. Knock yourself out. Don't Nola, the starting pitching. This is about the offense. The Phillies have lost because of the offense. They're down 3-1 in an elimination game today. 2-1 in an elimination game today in New York because of the offense. Because of the offense. I'm not going to sit here and bitch about Aaron Nola. By the way, I just want to say, I nailed his game last night. I nailed it. I haven't said 3 or 4 runs. He gave you 5 really good innings. And then Topper, and this is more complaints about Topper, and I have them. He struck out the side a very good bottom of the 5th inning. So he comes back out there for the bottom of the 6th, which I had no problem with. But this is where Nola runs into a problem. Pretty much every time he pitches, this is where he runs into a problem. The 3rd time around the order. And he saw 3 batters and all 3 got on. How Rob Thompson isn't looking ahead and saying, we got to get somebody up. Because if he puts somebody on or he looks shaky to start the inning, I'm having a quick hook. This is the playoffs, not game 118. This is the playoffs. You have to look ahead to a possibility that normally happens in the regular season. This is the playoffs. He doesn't see more than 2 batters. He may only see 1 batter in the 6th inning. Meanwhile, he loaded the bases. Kirkering gets the first 2 outs and then gives it up on the 3rd batter that he faces, Marte. It's a good piece of hitting. I can't overly bitch about Kirkering. It would be nice if he came up big in a high leverage spot. He did have the bases loaded with no outs, but just frustrating. The buttons that are being pushed by Thompson aren't hitting. They're just not. And when you hit, is it because you're a genius or because they're hitting? Well, it's probably because they're hitting. But, man, it feels like the last 2 years that every button that he's pushed has not hit. And it's frustrating. Just a non-competitive game. I never would have thought that the team comes out last night and more or less the same thing that we've seen in all of game 1 and a lot of game 2. Bad at bats. And how about Alec Bohm? Since being benched, he's seen 8 pitches in 6 plate appearances, and his body language is bad. They show him overall on the bench after he got thrown out at second base, running like a giraffe, and he looks like he was literally crying. This guy, it's a problem. I can guarantee you that the teammates are like, if we're looking at it and being like, would you grow up? What do you think they're saying? This is bad, and they need to bounce back. And before the end of the show, I'm going to try to get us there, but that's not for right now. 7th inning. So this is Austin Hayes. Let's bring in Tyler Zulli here because he did the pregame. He watched the game live. You were somewhere in Port Richmond yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot
yesterday.
of very positive Phillies fans.
It was the bar cleared out very quickly at the end of the 7th. It was a packed bar. Wrapped the whole bar was wrapped around, and at the bottom of the 7th, it's just like there was this mass exodus. I asked Jamie, I'm like, did these people even pay their tabs? Because they just all got up and left at once. It was a mass exodus of people.
You know what it's like? It's like when you're at a game and you say, all right, I'm going to give it one more inning. Because I'm definitely not somebody that stays all 9 innings because of traffic and stuff like that.
Oh, you're the worst kind of fan then.
You go to a game and it's 7. Let's say
my wife hates it. We will not leave.
Really?
Will not leave.
So let's say it's 7-1 and it's the 7th inning, bottom of the 7th, and it's 7-1. I'll in my head say, all right, if they don't do anything here, I'm out.
Okay.
And they go down 1-2-3 in the 7th inning, I'm leaving. And that's how the game was for me last night. It's like, all right, I'm going to give them one more inning, and then like I'm going to get pajamas, and I'm getting them ready for bed. And and the TVs are on in all the house, so it's not like that it's not on. Now people will kill me because you're not watching the game. Yeah, I did last night. F them. Sucked. But so Austin Hayes, right? We were talking yesterday. I'm a little bit surprised that Stott saw the bench, but not with Marsh. I just don't know how you go to Austin Hayes at that point. He has given you no reason to believe that in a playoff game, he's going to step in and have good at-bats and look good. So top of the 2nd, runner on first, 2 outs. First pitch, swinging ground out. End the inning. He leads off the top of the 5th. Strike looking, swing and a miss, swing and a miss. 3 pitches and a strikeout. 7th inning, called strike, 2 foul balls, swing and a miss, struck him out. So his approach to the plate is I'm going to come up and swing at everything. That's going to be really easy to pitch to you, dude. If I know you're going to come up and you're going to swing at everything, guess what? I'm not going to throw you. I'm not going to throw you
strikes.
A good pitch. Yes. And you put him out there for that. You even gave him the third. You gave him the third at bat, which I couldn't believe. You almost feel like Taijuan Walker bad for him at this point. He sucks so bad. And again, that's the feel for Thompson. He doesn't have a good feel for this right now. Taking Stott out yesterday didn't feel like the right move. Getting Bohm out, taking Marsh out, I was okay with that. But the at-bat that Stott worked to get that triple, I feel like you got to leave him in. He sees a lot of pitches. Stott, even against a tough lefty, to me, his approach is going to be good. Even if he's not getting hits, his approach is still going to be good. But no button that's being pressed is working right now.
Yeah, when you talk about Stott specifically, we have chronicled this year the difference between his at bats this year and his at bats last year. The plate approach is the same. He wants to work counts. He wants to go deep into the count, and he doesn't mind working from behind in the count. Last year, he was a king with 2 strikes. I think he had like 20 some odd hits with 2 strikes, and it was like in like a very small sample size. Like he was just off the charts good with 2 strikes. This year, pitchers have taken him back up the ladder like they did his rookie year, and he's chasing the high fastball with 2 strikes again. The outcome of the at-bat has been different for Bryson Stott. But like you said, when this team is floundering, to just put at-bats together between Alec Bohm seeing, I believe that the count is he's accounted for 9 outs on 18 pitches. He saw 5 pitches yesterday. I talked about this yesterday. Bryce Harper has been an absolute revelation for this team in the postseason. He is their best player and has been in the postseason for a majority of his time as a Philly. There was an at-bat last night, though, that he had first and second and nobody out. And I said to Jamie and Renee, the 3 outcomes you can't produce in this situation are strikeout, pop up, double play. If you strike out, you don't put the bat on the ball, you do nothing. If you pop out, you get the infield fly rule, you do nothing. If you hit into a double play, it's almost seemingly the worst. His 3-pitch at bat was swung through a changeup he should have put into the second deck, flailed at a slider in the zone, flailed at a slider out of the zone. The next at bat right after him, Nick Castellanos, maybe a little bit unfortunate, maybe got BABIP'd a little bit there, but hit a ball right at Jose Iglesias. Yeah. They turn to the innings over. But the point being is you have a runner on first and second. That was your first clear-cut probably opportunity to put some pressure on Sean Manaea, whose control looked like maybe in that spot it was just starting to waver a little bit, and you struck out and hit into a double play. This is across the board. I think that every time we bring up a player, somebody is going to go, well, what about player X, right? We bring up player Y and they say, what about player X? This is an across-the-board offensive. It was a productivity failure yesterday.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Alvarez said after the game they have a plan for him, for Bryce Harper. Now, how'd that plan work out in game number 2? But, yeah, he said they have a plan for him. That was, I give Manaea a lot of credit for...
he was good last night, don't get me wrong.
But in that at-bat against Harper, he had him off balance. He hit him thinking the entire at-bat.
Yep.
Like you had said, that changeup, if you're being smart about this and saying, all right, what's he going to throw here? He was swinging fastball. You guessed wrong, right? Like so many times, pitchers make adjustments on you. This isn't a league where you're playing bad teams and it's like, all right, I'm just going to go up and up. No, they make adjustments on you. There's an entire analytics department to try to be like, all right, well, now what do we do? The Diamondbacks made adjustments on the Phillies last year. And look what happened in the back end of the NLCS. That's what they're doing right here. Yeah, no, that was I tip my hat to Manaea right there. And Bryce it's a big spot not to get anything out of it.
Well, we talked about it.
Like you had said, you can't not get anything out of that.
A strikeout and a double play does you absolutely no favors. We talked about it yesterday. Sean Manaea was good. And like you said, they have the Mets pitching, just like the Diamondbacks pitching in the back end of the series, had a clear path to success, and that is pitch backwards and don't give these guys anything to hit because they're going to chase themselves into the ground. Manaea had 19 swings and misses yesterday, and just to quickly go back, because I had the number last night and I don't have it in front of me today, but his O swing percentage, which is swings generated outside of the zone, was at almost 40% for the game. He got 54 swings, and of those 54 swings, almost 40% of them were outside of the zone. You're talking about 2 of every 5 pitches that the Phillies are going after are not going to be considered strikes within the construct of the strike zone.
Yeah, I guess I never ended up putting it down. But in the 7th inning, let me bring up the play-by-play right now, and we'll get to your headlines coming up in a second. But I think he had Manaea had a 7-pitch 7th inning or something like that. Like of all the things that bothered me from last night, when I say that they weren't competitive, did he come in the 8th inning too? They weren't competitive. By the 7th inning in a start, unless you're an elite pitcher, you should be laboring to try to get through that 7th inning. We saw it with Nola in the 6th. We saw it with Wheeler. He was having some struggles there later on in the inning. It's not a regular season inning. There's so much more stress on every pitch that you make in the playoffs. He came out in the 7th inning, and I think he threw 7 pitches.
And most of the time, the 7th inning, you are definitively into the third time through the lineup.
You are 100% through the third time of the lineup.
Unless you're perfect through 6 and you're just getting through the third time through the lineup, you are 1,000,000% going to be in that third time through. And it's not like it's going to be 1, 2, 3. It's probably going to be 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9. Based on how the game has unfolded. You would think at this point you would have a different approach deep into the third time through the lineup.
All right, you ready? And it's 4-0 at the time, so you don't feel great about it, but it's 4-0. So what do you want to do at 4-0, Tyler?
I want to get 1 run.
Want to get on base, man.
Get 1 run.
Need some base runners, right? You got to start to chip away. Bohm, swing and a miss. First ball, ground out. Real Muto, strike looking, ground out. Hayes, strike looking, foul ball, strike out on a swing. So you get 7 pitches, and he's making it look easy. He literally he made it look easy. It should never look like that. Ever, ever, ever look like that. Sorry, Bohm is an all-star this year. Real Muto's a perennial all-star. You got to give me more than that. Guys, this is in that spot right there to come out so feebly in the 7th inning. It just kills me. All right, well, we're going to get to the update coming up here in just 1 second, but let's talk about Dr. Glatt. Yeah, man. It's like, I wish we had a Zoom. Then we have nice cameras here, even though we complain about the technical difficulties. But, with Glatt hair restoration, you can just see it right here. Should I run into the camera? Can I do it? Look at that. Yep. And I wasn't a bald man. I wasn't, Phil Martelli or anybody like that. But I had the typical receded hairline of somebody in their 30s or 40s. And I was at a crossroads in my life. I'm like, you know what? It's driving me nuts. I got to either change the way I'm cutting my hair or I shave my head. And I tried shaving my head and I looked scary. But then Glatt hair restoration, I'm just telling you, there are very few things in life where you go into it and you're like, you know what? Let me try this. And the expectations are not only been exceeded. It really is life-changing. If you're worried about your hair, if you don't want to lose your hair, there's nobody better in the industry, no more experience and no more success than Glatt hair restoration. So if you thought about it and you heard me talk about this for years now, why not check them out? The website, you can get a lot of good information on here, before and after pictures, is glatthairmctr.com. I know it rolls right off the tongue. glatthairmctr.com. And you can see my before and after pictures. You can really get an idea of what your options are, what the procedure is, because it's not just about hair restoration. Modern technology, there's non-invasive treatments that can really help with shedding and with losing your hair. Topical medications, the vitamin supplementation that's out there. I know women in particular that have had shedding issues, especially after having babies or menopause, and this has helped so well with that. And, of course, hair restoration. They're the experts. Glatt Hair is who you need to contact. By Morgan Stern Medical, 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000. All right, BetParx app. Get to it right now. What would you set the line at for the game tonight on the money line there, Tyler Zulli?
I would say it is Mets minus 150. They're going to be the favorite.
185.
That's even heavier than I thought. Quintana is the obvious pitching advantage.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. The game. Well, hold on. I did update it this morning, but I was having technical difficulties in my head this morning. Minus 185. So it's plus 150 on the Phillies. So if you feel like the Phillies will win tonight, plus 150, that's some pretty good odds. It's been a tough one, but same game. If you feel like this is a Phillies game tonight, and this is what I love to do on the BetParx app. It's either you're going to have the best night of your life or they're going to lose and you may lose some money as well. So why not load up on the best night of your life right now? Or why not get in right now on some of the NFL action that's going around the BetParx app and a 50-1 odds boost, the super odds boost. So if you have a good feeling for who's going to win the big game this year, it's probably not the hometown team, but they'll boost it 50-1 for you. That's simple. BetParx.com has all the details on that. But the BetParx app, it's the only app that I would ever recommend. It's amazing. Even if you just want to use it as a reference for lines, that's mostly what I do, other than, putting a couple wagers in there. But that's my resource for lines and things like that, which I always like looking at. So BetParx.com for all the terms and conditions on that. You love to win. You bet. BetParx. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Is this more, we'll get to your headlines coming up in a second, Tyler. Is this more about the Phillies offense or more about the resiliency of the Mets? And I can tell you locally, almost everybody would say it's because of the Phillies offense and their futility. But nationally, if you asked an average baseball fan that's been watching this series, would they say it was more about the Mets or more about the Phillies? Probably more people nationally would make it more of a coin flip as far as who you look at. To me, this is about the Phillies not performing again this year in the postseason.
Yeah, because we're hyper localized to this team and we watch every game. So you're probably correct. I think nationally speaking, I think the national conversation is the Mets are on a roll. They're on a continued roll, and they're playing some really good baseball right now. And then the second conversation would be the Phillies can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, the Phillies are playing down. And I give the Mets credit. Mets are a good team. We said that going into the series. I didn't think for a second that this wasn't a good team. It's a good team. the Phillies' strength all season has been what, for the most part? Their bullpen's been lights out, and they've had great starting pitching.
Yeah, their starting pitching's been awesome.
And offense has been streaky, but they won the NFC East, so it's not like the NL East, so it's not like that they haven't been good all year. But their bullpen's broken down, and their offense is, for the exception of 4 innings, has given them nothing. You're not going to win like that. So, yeah, I agree nationally. They'll be like, oh, look at the Mets. Oh, look how resilient. They're great. But so there's 3 games so far in the series, right? Like, the Phillies pitched very well in the opening game. The offense didn't show up. Mets win it late. The Phillies offense showed up for the end of game 2, but the Mets also fought back, and it was a back and forth. And then last night, the Mets were just like, flick the Phillies like a fly last night, or a net. Get out of here. That's really the Phillies are playing like they're a team that more or less just got into the playoffs and don't belong. That's how they're playing right now. I mean, and this just in as well. Even if the Phillies were to win tonight, which we'll get to it, I'm not totally negative, non-positive John today. I'm trying to be positive John. I don't have a ton of confidence that this team's winning tonight. I'm not coming in Jim Fossil. This team's going to the playoffs, or this team's going to win tonight. I'm also not doom. Ranger Suarez is not a bad option tonight. More on that coming up in a second. But I just like it just like they have not been competitive enough this series. They just have not. And it sucks. It sucks. You tuned in last night, I would much rather be almost throwing up in a trash can because the game is killing my nerves, as opposed to, all right, like, do I need you need some Rite Aid, honey? I can run out and I can make a run right now. Nah, we don't need anything. I'm like, all right.
Well, so you said you're not feeling super confident in it tonight. So they've played 27 innings now. 3 games, 27 innings. How many of those innings offensively did you feel like they were going to put something together? The last 2, right, in game 2, for sure. I mean, it just things felt different.
But you didn't. The 6th inning, I didn't feel that. The 7, 8, 9. Okay, the 7th inning, 8th inning, and 9th inning.
You give the last 3. Yeah. The inning that they had first and second and nobody out with Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos. So heading into those 2 at bats, you probably feel like, okay, maybe they got something cooking here. So that's 4. Maybe an inning in game 1. Maybe. So we're talking about 5 or 6 innings over the course of 27 innings that you felt like there was some semblance of life with this offense. And that's on the higher end if you say 6.
Yeah, you can't really go past that.
Even at that, that's only a 2/7 of the inning. Like, what's 2/7 in a percentage? I'm not good at math, but it's like, I don't know, 18%, something like that.
Right.
Whatever the case may be. Talking about maybe every 5th inning, maybe every 7th inning, something like that. That's really discouraging for sure.
Yeah, the last night was as a non-competitive game that I can remember since, well, the NLCS last year, which isn't all that long. Listen, we'll have some stuff to talk about afterwards. I'm going to try to remain positive. The reality is that it's 8:30, and because the game ended 8:30 a.m. live, if you're watching, and because the game ended not at 9:30 or 10 o'clock last night, I feel like a lot of people were able to get the anger out last night, and maybe they woke up this morning feeling a little bit better. I didn't necessarily. I felt pretty good going to bed last night. I feel much worse today because it's one of these. All right, am I really believing that the offense is going to wake up today, or I'm hoping the offense is going to wake up today?
So
I'm hoping.
I drove home last night from Gull & Co. and I know I had music on. There was music in my car, but it was one of those drives where it was like one hand on the wheel, and I just like kind of longingly stared.
You don't remember much from the ride home.
I mean, I got home safely. I know I drove home, but it wasn't a productive drive home. Like, I just kind of longingly stared out the window. I guess I changed lanes appropriately and used my turn signal and things like that.
Isn't that crazy when you totally don't remember anything from a drive?
Oh, it was weird.
Were you awake?
Oh yeah, I hope so.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, you ask yourself, like, was I even like, what am I safe?
When
like, what am I doing?
Your brain checks out for like a mile and a half, and you know you're safely driving, but you don't remember any of it. Oh yeah, everybody's had that.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, listen, we'll get to your headlines coming up right now. At least we have the Eagles to pivot to if the Phillies season was to end. because, everybody feels so good about the Eagles right now. First thing I tweeted yesterday when Salah got fired was your next Sirianni. More or less.
Well, so somebody sent us a super chat last night, and they're like, well, at least you got the Sixers to look forward to. And I'm like,
oh, my God.
In what world is that a comfort?
Well, that's what it's like. I have to space these topics out, but I saw Kevin Kincaid of Crossing Broad was calling them the 76ers, the new 76ers. And it's a topic that I want to debate, but we have an hour show, right? Like, I would rather, if they lose, talk about that tomorrow, because I don't see that at all. I don't even see this as being an Eagles type. That's the other thing I'm saying. It's like, oh, the 2023 Eagles and the Phillies this year. I don't see that at all. I believe internally last night was, internally last year with the Eagles was like the biggest thing. The quarterback and the coach didn't trust themselves. There was obviously internal stuff going on. Veterans like Fletcher Cox and some other players weren't happy with Jalen Hurts' behavior on the sideline. Everything fell apart. Sure, maybe some of it was the X's and O's, but a lot of that was the Jimmies and Joes. When your coaches and your players aren't getting along, it's really tough to win. I don't believe that's the case with the Phillies. They might be annoyed with Alec Bohm, but for the most part, to me, this is just they're ghosts right now. They're deer in the headlights. They don't know what hit them. They don't know what hit them. So anyway, let's get to the headlines.
My buddy, real quick, if you don't mind, my buddy sent me a text today. He and I have been going back and forth. Like, I went to bed and we were talking about the game. I woke up and I got here and we were talking about the game again because we're both just frustrated. And he said, I said to him, they feel lost. I said that collectively they feel lost. And he goes, that's where I disagree. It's not that they're lost. That's the approach. And so I responded. I said, okay, so they're not lost. They're just stubborn, and that might be worse.
So does it get – yeah, well, see, I think it just gets it during a regular season because it's regular season baseball. Are there real adjustments made like you're made in a playoff series where you're getting guys that are going out there? A lot of nights you're seeing starting pitchers that aren't all that good. You're seeing bullpens that aren't all that good.
It's fair.
So you're feasting off of – bad pitchers, lesser pitchers, and now you get to this moment right here where the Mets have their strength is pitching. Their starting pitching is good.
It's been very good, especially in the month of September.
Yes.
And the back half of the second half of the season. So I guess the last quarter of the season, they've been playing playoff baseball now for a month and a half. It's been really, really good.
All right. Well, what are your headlines? Because
right.
I know Glatt Hair Restoration
yes,
sponsors.
Let's get to our headlines brought to you by Glatt Hair Restoration because, as we always talk about, bald is now optional. And if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. They'll help regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started. So we talked enough about the Phillies. Let's take a look around the rest of Major League Baseball. The San Diego Padres are one win away from going to the NLCS. John, I talked about them a lot in the end of the regular season. You would talk about a team that's been playing playoff baseball for a while. This is a team that is just clicking at the right time. They score 6 in the bottom of the second off of Walker Buehler, who ends up going 5 innings. It's the only inning that the Dodgers gave up any runs. They scored 6 in the bottom of the second inning. Fernando Tatis drove in 2 with a home run, but it was also an RBI by Xander Bogaerts. David Peralta had 2. Kyle Higashioka had 1 as well. They win this game 6-5. The Dodgers do score 4 in the third to make it a 6-5 game, but then pitching shuts it down the rest of the way. The Dodgers win 6-5 the Padres win 6-5 over the Dodgers, and they are 1 win away from going to the NLCS themselves.
And they're heavier favorites to win their series than the Mets are to win this series right here.
I think that's
good reason. For good
fair.
reason too.
And I think that as better, like the Mets are playing definitively better baseball than the Phillies are right now. I think the Padres have an even larger gap over the Dodgers because the Dodgers have no pitching. The Phillies at least can say, "Hey, Ranger Suarez has been."
Zach Wheeler. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes.
But Ranger Suarez in the beginning of the year was good. Zach Wheeler in Game 5, if you get there, you would think the bullpen makes an adjustment at some point. The Dodgers pitching is cooked.
Yep. Did you see? I know you were working last night. You may not have seen in that six-run inning, Manny Machado, what he did. He is he's a really interesting player. So he's on first base. Freddie Freeman gets a ground ball. And he's looking to throw to second base to get the lead runner, potentially get a double play. Probably wouldn't have been a double play. He's right-handed. Is Freddie Freeman right-handed or no? He's left-handed.
As a defender?
Yeah.
I believe he's right-handed.
Yeah, so for a right-handed first baseman to make that throw to second base is a tough throw. We've seen Rhys Hoskins really struggle with it. With a lefty, it's a little bit easier because it's easier to get the ball, so you're not in the base path of the runner. Manny Machado went so far out of the baselines on the infield. He was actually on the grass to try to screw Freeman from making that throw, and it worked because he sailed it and he ended up going to third base. But there's a way that team is playing right now, the Padres, that has a lot of bite to it. Yep. And I love it. And Machado's as chippy as any player I can remember in a really long time. And the whole, I don't know what you thought about this, but Dave Roberts, are you like, what a freaking wimp you are. Machado threw a ball towards the dugout that had some intent, but he didn't throw a 95-mile-an-hour ball into the dugout. And Dave Roberts was talking about how he was worried for himself and all this other stuff. Like, oh my God. Jeez.
Well,
great series.
They have an opportunity to clinch the series tonight against the Dodgers. 6:08 first pitch. Well, 6:08 Pacific time, so I guess 9:08 first pitch here locally. But before that, of course, the Phillies and the Mets will play earlier in the day. But before that, even 3:08 is the first game today. The Guardians and the Tigers. This one in Detroit, series tied at 1. If you remember, the Tigers took game 2. Tarek Skubal was awesome. Kerry Carpenter with a 3-run home run to win that one off of Emmanuel Clase. At 7 o'clock tonight, it's the Yankees and the Royals from Kansas City. The Royals win game 2 to tie the series up at 1 game apiece as well. If you remember, this was the first time ever that all 4 DS games, all 4 DS series were tied at 1 game apiece after 3. The Mets have a 2-1 lead. The Padres have a 2-1 lead. And the Guardians, Tigers, Yankees, and Royals will each look to take a 2-1 series lead tonight.
Do you know who's throwing out the first pitch for the Mets tonight?
I would assume it's probably it's got to be somebody with some bite, right?
You probably won't guess.
Keith Hernandez?
No. How about that Daniel Murphy?
Oh,
so
okay.
Immediately when I think of Daniel Murphy, I think of Larry Boa. That's who he was giving an FU to, and he was saying, "We're gonna hit you," if you remember it. It's the game that he got tossed. He was yelling and screaming. He got tossed. He came out on the field. It was awesome. So
it's funny when I think of Daniel Murphy, I just think of playoff success.
He had that run, man. He got him a huge contract.
He hit 308 in his career in the playoffs. He had 30 hits in 97 at bats. And he hit 333 in a series for the Mets. He was the NLCS MVP. He was 9 of 17. He was 7 of 16 for Washington a couple years later. Hit 438 that year, and then 529 the year he won the NLCS MVP. Just incredible playoff success for Daniel Murphy.
Yep. Yeah, I think of that too. But I love I love Boa because it's almost it's a GIF or a GIF, whatever you call it, where he's doing the bleep you. Ugh. So that's who's throwing it out tonight. We'll talk about tonight's game here in a second. But Anthony's coming up at 9 o'clock. He's probably going to need a good hour and a half to get everything off his chest as well. So I'm surprised at how pitifully they're finishing this series. If they end up losing tonight, if they lose tonight, but it's a spirited effort and they just don't have enough, and the Mets are just a better team, all right. Like I won't like it, but it'll be easier to swallow than it's 4-0 in the 4th inning and it's 5-0 in the 6th inning, and then they score a run and then they give up 3 more runs. It ends up being, there needs to be a real competitive. Sure. We're going to fight like hell tonight coming back, or I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to make it any easier to digest, but
I need some fight, man.
You need some semblance of a fight.
I need some fight, man. I do. All right, well, listen, I'll tell you who'll fight you. Well, TrueMark's not going to fight you, but here's what they're going to fight for. They're going to fight for you. They're mortgage specialists. If you want to get back in the housing market, it's hot again. Interest rates are going down. Inventory is going up. So there's opportunities if you're in the market for a new home, maybe an investment property or something like that. TrueMark Financial's mortgage specialists can offer you guidance on your options and terms. They'll help you assess your finances and credit score to determine borrowing capacity. Good time to get in right now, especially if you're a first-time buyer. And they'll help you save for a down payment and budget for closing costs. They're federally insured by the NCUA as an equal opportunity lender. For more info, visit TrueMark.com/PHLYITY. PHLYITY. Google TrueMark Financial. You'll find them for sure. All right, the good people at FOCO. Listen, and I saved this. I saved to say this for FOCO. All right, because if you're looking for apparel, sports and entertainment, you're looking for something like this, a jersey. If you're going to a game, whatever it is, FOCO, leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. All right, so a lot of people would come in today, and Tyler's very snooty when it comes to Phillies. He won't wear any type of Phillies apparel because he's a professional. I'm not a professional. I'm just a fan, but I'm not a jersey wearer, but I have one Phillies jersey, and it's the number 15. I'm going to move over here so you can see it. So most Phillies fans would be like, oh, wow, a Dick Allen jersey. That's great. It's not a Dick Allen jersey. It's a Steve Jeltz jersey. And then it would say, Steve Jeltz wasn't 15. Like, well, he was his rookie year. And this is an autographed Steve Jeltz jersey from his rookie year. And I bought it off of eBay for, I think, $30 because I needed a Phillies jersey for something. So, yes, but it's a cool jersey, right? So, Tyler, the thing about it is I wore this jersey to the no-hitter in the World Series.
Okay.
I haven't had a good lifetime record wearing this jersey to games or wearing it on game days. So much so that last year at the NLCS, I was threatened to not wear this jersey. And it didn't work. They ended up losing the last couple games in the NLCS. So today, I'm bringing it back out because we haven't had a lot of success without the jersey on. And let's not be silly. Steve Jeltz isn't screwing the Phillies. The Phillies are screwing the Phillies. So the Jeltz jersey's on today because I want to show support for my team. No one else around this place is wearing Philly stuff today. I am, because that's what I'm going to do. But if you want to get your stuff, get to FOCO right now. They have something hooked up for PHLY customers. How about this? Non-presale items, PHLY 10. That's 10% off. Officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. Hoodies, jackets, beachwear, even overalls, which I can't imagine Jamie Lynch is going to be wearing the overalls tonight. There's something for fans for almost every occasion. PHLY at checkout, 10% off. FOCO. FOCO. All right.
So, John, there have been 7 players. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it was 5. There have been 5 players since the 2011 team to wear the number 15.
5 players.
5 players to wear the number 15.
Since 2011?
Since 2011. I think 2 are gettable. The other 3, I will be so impressed if you get this right.
So just so you know, I think Tony Longmire wore number 15.
I can check for you.
He was like he was a fringe player on the 93 team.
I do not see him on this list.
No, because so here's what you need to know about me.
Dave Hollins wore 15 on the 93 team.
Okay, yeah, so it wouldn't have been Longmire. So I'm not good with baseball numbers.
Okay.
Some like people will say Ryan Howard's number. Like I know 26 Chase Utley.
Howard was 6.
Yeah, Howard was 6. There's just like baseball numbers for me don't click.
Okay.
Football does. I think basketball as well, but not as much. So 15 on the Phillies.
Yep. I think
Nick Williams?
It was not Nick Williams, but it was an outfielder on those post-good year teams.
So on those crappy Phillies teams?
Yeah, he was on kind of the earlier portions of those teams because he was on the 11 team.
All right, give him to me because I'll never get him.
John Mayberry.
John Mayberry is the poster child for my team sucks and this guy's going to get 400 at bats anyway.
2018 through 2020 was Andrew Knapp.
Oh, Nappy.
And then the 3 that I would be stunned if anybody got: Ty Kelly in 2017, Emmanuel Burris in 2016, and Jordan Danks in 2015.
I don't remember any of those players at all, and my mind's mush at this point in my life.
Jordan Danks had 4 whole at bats with the Phillies. Emmanuel Burris had 45, and Ty Kelly probably had about 100 maybe.
So, some of those Pete McCannon post
88
post Ruben Amaro teams were, even though I watched all the games, by September when the Eagles started, it's like, yeah, I don't need to watch this team anymore. I'm good. Emmanuel Burris. Do you know the first Philly to wear 35 after Cole Hamels?
The first Philly to wear 35?
It's a halfway trick. It's a kind of a trick question because he didn't actually play in a game, but he was on the active roster with this number, with 35.
No, I don't.
I think it's Hector Mercado was Mercado. They brought him up and he didn't get in a bat, and then they designated him for assignment the next day. And they gave him 35. I'm not telling you need to retire Cole Hamels 35. You can't give it to Mercado. Has to be a respectable player. I feel like that with most of the athletes that I like. When Brian Westbrook left the Eagles, and then next training camp, they had some guy that had no shot of making the roster wearing 36 in a preseason game. I'm like, come on, at least save it for a starter. Like, geez, I know maybe not a lot of numbers in the 30s. You tell him to take something in the 20s then. 36, not available. And then, you got to give it to somebody at some point. You're not going to retire his number. You're not going to do Randall with fake retirement where you just don't give it to anybody. Anyway, all right, so let's talk about tonight's game. So Paul Jolowitz, who I'm sure Paul's a nice guy, but so he was
Oscar Mercado, by the way.
It was Oscar. Okay, Hector Mercado was a big left-handed pitcher.
Since then, by the way, two players have worn 35: Drew Ellis and David Dahl wore it this year.
Yeah, I remember Dahl wearing it this year. Once you give it to Mercado, you might as well give it to every scrub that you bring up. Doesn't matter. But so Jolowitz was and then he puts it up. He's like, I don't bleed Philly red. Like, in other words, I'm not really a fan, so I don't care. I'm just giving my opinion. Like, okay, fine. Like, give your opinion. It's stupid. He wanted to have a bullpen game over starting Ranger Suarez tonight, which literally might be the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. And then he walked that back and he said that Zach Wheeler should be starting on 3 days rest. Like, you need this game. You can't lose this game. It's crazy not to start Zach Wheeler, which that's a different discussion. The bullpen, I don't even need to spend a lot of time on this. You want to put this bullpen in for an elimination game in New York, this bullpen. Zach Wheeler on 3 days rest. Thompson named Ranger Suarez the starter yesterday. He was not going to go back on that. With that being said, if he didn't name a starter for game 4, would you put Tyler Zuhle, would you put Zach Wheeler in for the starter as the starter tonight?
Well, I kind of had that conversation the other day of like, would he pitch on short rest should they lose game 3? And initially my thought was just, yeah, absolutely. I think he should. Threw 111 pitches the other day. 3 days rest on 111 pitches is a difficult ask. He may be available tonight if you say, hey, we need a spot, get up. He might be available, but I think there's a reason that Ranger Suarez is pitching tonight. And the answer to that initial post was like, even if they do throw your quote unquote bullpen game, Ranger Suarez is pitching in that game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is he going 4 innings tonight? I'd be surprised if he makes it past 5.
I think he
5.
probably gets 2 times through the order. I think they'll give him 2 times through the order, and that'll be it.
3 or 4 innings.
Yeah, probably about 4 innings, I would say. He's going to have a short leash. But
then who do you go to?
I don't know. It's great.
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
Bullpen game,
I don't know what to tell
idiot. You. Oh my God. Yeah. So
I mean, you're probably going to see everybody, right? They're going to empty the bullpen out, right? They're going to everybody's available, I would think. Maybe Orion Kerkering's not available today because he's pitched in back-to-back games.
Hoffman pitches earlier.
Hoffman's going to be available earlier than normal. Strom is going to be available earlier than normal.
You got to get a lead and then you got to close it out, but you got to worry about staying in the game first.
Estevez threw 20 some odd pitches yesterday in mop-up duty. I don't know. I mean, he's got to be available.
9th inning.
He has to be available.
Yeah, you save him for the save. He doesn't. I don't think he comes in the 8th inning. You save him for the 9th.
All your mid to high leverage guys are going to be
everybody else
asked to get up early and probably often.
Alvarado. I don't know what else you want Topper to do there. He's got to pitch him. He left him in too long, but like he's everybody's going to in the bullpen's failing for the most part.
Yeah, your bullpen that's been good all year has not been good.
It's not been good. It has not been good. And so I said it yesterday, and it's something to say again today, and it's why you don't start Zach Wheeler on 3 days rest. First of all, you don't know what you're getting out of Zach Wheeler on 3 days rest. Is he Zach Wheeler for 5 innings and then you got to go to the bullpen? Or is he Zach Wheeler for 7 innings and you go to the bullpen? Or is he not Zach Wheeler for 5 innings and he gets up 4 or 5 runs? It's not like Zach Wheeler hasn't had bad outings this year. He has. So I know what you're getting
in a while, but
yeah. So I don't think that it's a conversation for sure. But this team's offense needs to perform. And it's what I said yesterday, because I truly believe that Aaron Nola is going to keep you in the game, but you weren't winning the game unless you were scoring runs. And the offense had about as bad of a performance as you could ever expect them to have. I mean, just non-competitive. the entire game outside of the couple late innings where like I was already out by that point. The at-bats were pathetic, other than the first inning where they hit him hard. They did the exit velos. We won the first inning exit velo wise. I saw that, but
well, and that's why we talked about that last night. That's why it felt like yesterday maybe there was some sign of life, right? Because yes, they went down 1-2-3, but every ball that they hit was 106 miles an hour or more off the bat. They squared some balls up and just hit them right at people. You thought, hey, maybe they're going to get to Manaea. Maybe this is a sign of things to come. You just had your top three hitters hit the ball hard and nothing to show for it. You know, the law of averages might state that you're going to get a bleeder or two that falls in. You know, that no man's land bloop base hit or a ball that dribbles down the line and never goes foul. Like, these things should, in theory, over the course of however many games, balance themselves out. But that only works in theory because when your plate approach is as poor as it is, it doesn't really matter.
It seems like the plate approach is I'm going to go up and swing. When you look at most of these at-bats, I'm going to go up and swing. Bryce was like that last night. But
there's too much swinging out of hand.
They're up there guessing. There's no hey, I'm going to take some pitches. You were talking about this earlier with Stott looking so comfortable with two strikes. The guy that I think about most in getting into a two-strike count is Bobby Abreu. And say what you want about Bobby Abreu, he saw a lot of pitches. He drew a lot of walks because he knew what was going on at the plate. And oftentimes he would take a walk where I wish he was trying to drive in runs, but he felt he almost wanted the count to be 0-2. As opposed to a pitcher saying, like, I got you 0-2, now I got you where I want you. Abreu would almost be like, okay, I got you where I want you now, because now I'm going to make you throw balls. I'm going to make you throw a ball off the plate, or I'm going to hit you. And you need more of that in this lineup right now. It's just going up there and slugging at the ball. When you live by the long ball, you die by the long ball. And look at how they got their first 3 runs in game 2. Look how they got their 1 run in game 1. But again, with all that being said, the offense needs to show up tonight. And we know the bullpen's going to have to do enough. The most confidence I have in anything tonight, the most confidence I have in anything going into game 4 tonight against the Mets is that Ranger Suarez is going to show up. May only be for 3 innings. It may only be for 4 innings. He may not make it out of the 5th. But Ranger Suarez, the spot's not going to be too big for him. The moment's not going to be too big for him. This is about the Phillies' offense. This is about the Phillies' high-priced players. They're offensive players. Bryce Harper, JT, Trey Turner, not getting a hit, getting home runs, getting extra base hits, driving in runs, getting on the board early. These guys need to show up. And then the bullpen needs to do their job, which they haven't done all series. This is a horrifying game staring down the barrel of a shotgun in an elimination game. But if they get some runs early, because here's the reality. If the Phillies win game 4, the pressure goes on. The pressure goes on. The Mets, are they under pressure right now? No, because everybody thinks that they're going to win the game, and the Phillies have looked as bad as they have. The minute they lose this game, now it's like, oh, back up to Philly. Phillies are playing with house money right now, being down 2-1 on the road. Get a win tonight. We're going to feel a lot different about game 5. And that's that. I have no problem. I'm excited to see. I love Ranger Suarez. One of my favorite Phillies. Tyler, I am looking forward to seeing Ranger Suarez come out there and, blood in his veins, cool as a cucumber. You don't know his demeanor, whether he's giving up a home run or he just struck somebody out. I love, especially playoff Ranger Suarez. I love him.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Ranger's demeanor. I think that Ranger has proven to you that he is about as calm, cool, and collected as he possibly can be in the postseason. I'm worried about Ranger's stuff. The stuff hasn't been there for a couple of weeks now since he's come off the IL. Now the velocity has started to kind of ramp back up a little bit. He's not throwing 89, 90 anymore like he was when he came off the IL. But I think he had kind of fallen in love with his curveball a couple of times throughout the back end of the regular season, and he was leaving it up and over the heart of the plate. I think the changeup had less life than it did in the first half of the year. And when the changeup doesn't have life, on top of the fact that the velo is down, when the velo discrepancy between your fastball and your changeup shrinks, it becomes a much easier pitch to digest, especially if you're picking it up out of hand or it's an uncompetitive pitch. Like we talked about Christopher Sanchez in game 2, the reason his changeup was so successful was because he was locating it so well. It was down and in.
It was dropping.
It was either down and in or away off the plate, but just away off the plate enough where it wasn't an uncompetitive pitch. Ranger is I'm not worried about Ranger, but I don't believe in Ranger tonight the way that I believed in Ranger each of the last 2 postseasons.
Well, it's all expectation.
My expectations are lower.
You're not getting 6 innings out of Ranger Suarez tonight.
Correct. I think if you get 4 really good innings, you're going to feel really good. If you get a 5th good inning out of him, you're going to feel great.
No, I think you had said it. I was just looking at the Mets lineup. If you can get, he's probably going to run into trouble when he's going through Nimmo, Alonso, and Iglesias the second time, which would more or less be the 4th inning, depending on how the first three innings go, right? So if you can get to that point, I'm looking for 4 innings out of Suarez tonight. I don't know where you go after that. That's the bigger problem. You maybe go Hoffman after that.
I think depending on the leverage, you're probably going to be asking Hoffman and Strahm to pitch much earlier than expected. The thing is, again, like I'm of course I'm not like ecstatic about Ranger tonight the way that I was. And again, I've been saying this for a while. I think the Mets have a definitive pitching edge tonight with how good Quintana has been. But none of this matters. None of this matters at all if the offense is stagnant like it's been 2 of the last 3 nights. You know what I mean? So, like, you sit here and you go, well, I worry about this, but this. I worry about
if they don't hit, none of it matters.
None of it matters if they don't hit. You know what I mean? So, you're asking Ranger to climb an insurmountable hill if he is tasked to go 5 shutout innings because they don't score.
Right. So the lineup tonight, my prediction is that Weston Wilson plays left field and Stott's back at second base and Sosa goes over to third base.
Well, that's an ask I've been asking for the whole postseason. Is I think if you're going to have the lefty on the mound, I would have gone to Weston Wilson yesterday.
I was shocked that he went Austin Hayes. I was shocked that he went Austin Hayes. I was surprised that Stott came out. What about Stott today? Is he back in there?
I think Stott has to play today.
Stott plays and Bohm plays again.
Edmundo Sosa's chase rate has climbed substantially in the last couple of months. He was really, really good when they needed him as a buoy. When Trey Turner went out in the regular season, he was really, really good. He deserved the credit that he got for what he did when Trey Turner was missing time with the hamstring injury.
Cody Clemens at all?
I don't think I'm starting Clemens tonight.
I don't know if he's good defensively enough to play.
Not against the lefty.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I'm going your typical 7, including Schwarber, and then I'm going Wilson in left and Stott at second. And I know people are going to complain about Johan Rojas. His bats have not been particularly good either.
He hasn't killed him like last year,
but defensively, at least you've got him to rely upon.
He's the least of my
He's the least of my concerns. He's going to hit 9th. I think you're going Wilson and Stott, or you should go Wilson and Stott. And Rojas is in center.
All right, so PHLY Phillies, are you guys out today or is the pregame in studio?
No, pregame is in studio. We'll be on the air at 3:30, I believe.
Nice.
And then we will be doing a watch-along with our friends at the Cheap Seats. So it'll be a little crossover watch-along from the studio couches. So you can hang out with us.
and Gritty and Jason Ashworth.
Yep. So we'll be hanging out with them and then post-game immediately following the game.
Oh, that sounds like fun. All right, well, there you go. Shout out to our diehards out there. Shout out diehards. What's up, everybody? Thank you.
So, I know we're kind of running out of time. I'm trying to parse through some of the Phillies 1-2 and 0-2 averages this year. Now, granted, every hitter across baseball is going to have bad averages when they get down in the count, either 0-2 or 1-2.
Right.
Some of them that I've come through so far. Austin Hayes has actually been pretty solid with 2 strikes. He's hitting 246 with no strike with an 0-2 counter at 1-2 count. Surprisingly, he's been pretty good. Yeah. Alec Bohm's at 208. Brandon Marsh is at 091 with 2 strikes.
That doesn't surprise me.
Johan Rojas is hitting 213 with a 1-2 count, and he's hitting 196 with an 0-2 count. Again, these numbers are not out of the ordinary for a hitter who's buried in the count 0-2, 1-2. That's a clear pitcher's count. It's clearly in the pitcher's favor. But the 091 is probably the concerning one. That's and we talk about Brandon Marsh's strikeout rate. It was through the roof this year. None of these numbers are going to be good, but it's just an indication of like they get behind in counts and they're not crawling back.
Nope. Yeah, you would expect guys with lesser approaches just up there kind of swinging, just to swing down 0-2. And that's guys are up there just swinging to swing, man. Can't win like that. You're not gonna beat a good team. You can maybe beat some Marlins or a lesser team. We saw it last year. This is the kind of series you lose like this and you go down again tonight. This is the kind of series where guys lose jobs and trades are made. It's telling you. After what happened last year in the NLCS, if it happens again in Game 4 tonight against the Mets, you have to. Well, we'll be talking about this for months. You have to. Don't you have to switch things up? I don't know if that means Bohm. I don't know if that means Stott. They definitely need another outfielder in here. Got to switch stuff up, man. Got to switch stuff up. All right, again, remember to subscribe to the show or subscribe on YouTube. Just search PHLY Sports. The podcast is up. Been hearing from a lot of people that are like, man, I've been downloading the podcast. I've been listening every day, like 9:05. I get to work, boom, it's posted up there. Wherever you find your podcast, Philly with John Marks, just search it. You'll find it. Give a good 5-star review. Comment on YouTube, as many of our live viewers are doing. Shout out to all the good people out there that watch every day live on YouTube. And Roku TV. Man, if you have a Roku TV, search for PHLY Sports. And we have our own channel. And we're just going around the clock 24 hours a day, all of our programming. You can catch us on there, including live every morning at 8 a.m. And love to hear from the viewers and the listeners. Reach out to me. It's at John Marks Media, at John Jon Marks Marks Media. That's on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. My DMs are open as well, so you can slide into my DMs. And the email is johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. MySpace.com. I deleted my MySpace,
did you?
Actually. I did. I actually did have a MySpace at one point, and I deleted it. I met a girlfriend off of MySpace.
Okay.
Like a long-distance relationship girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
And then she tried to move to Philly, and that's kind of when the relationship ended. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Yeah, MySpace was a different animal. It definitely was. Prediction tonight on the record.
Yeah,
Tyler's early prediction. And so hold on, you're doing the pregame show.
Yeah, we got a pregame show.
All right, so I won't make you give.
But here's the thing: I'm 0-3 in my predictions. I took the Phillies to win Game 1, the Mets won. I took the Mets to win Game 2, the Phillies won. I took the Phillies to win Game 3, the Mets won. So I guess for everybody's sake, should I take the Mets?
What do you really think?
I think the Mets win tonight.
I think everybody thinks.
Yeah,
that,
I think the series is over.
I think everybody thinks that, which means the Phillies will win tonight, and we will be back tomorrow celebrating a Game 5. Just when we thought they were done. Is that how it always works? Remember last year?
Pull us back in.
The D-backs weren't coming to Philly and winning that series. Are you crazy? They did. All right, go Phils. Switch over to Anthony. Give him a click. He's live right now. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.